Okay, so welcome to the conference this evening with Le Cercle des Langues. Today we will be discussing sustainability. So how to reduce, reuse and recycle, and all of the vocabulary that we need to discuss this very important topic. This topic is a B1 to B2 level conference, and you will be sent the conference after the session. So normally, as you know, the session is about 25 minutes, and we have 5 minutes left to discuss and answer any questions that you might have. So please feel free to put your questions either in the chat, or you can write them on a piece of paper and we will discuss it afterwards. So let's begin. Today's conference is divided into 4 parts. We are going to have an introduction to sustainability. So we are going to talk about what is sustainability. We are then going to look at reducing. So that is to minimize consumption. What is that? We will look at reusing, so giving items a second life. And number 4, recycling, managing waste responsibly. So the first part, we are talking about an introduction to sustainability. Sustainability refers to the ability to maintain or endure over time, balancing economic, social, and environmental considerations. It involves managing resources and processes in a way that meets the needs of the present without depleting resources or harming ecosystems. So en français, we talk about durabilité, and in English, we talk about sustainability. It encompasses practice that promote long-term well-being for both people and the planet, aiming for a harmonious coexistence between human activities and the natural world. On the other hand, processes that encourage conscious sustainability can bring great benefits in the following aspects. We talk about environmental preservation, so how we keep the earth working as it is, social equity, economic stability, health and well-being, global responsibility, biodiversity conservation, and cultural presentation. So these are the important factors behind sustainability. So with our discussion today, we need to take into account the key vocabulary and what sustainable means. It's important to keep these terms in mind. For example, conservation, en français c'est conservation, c'est pareil. Preservation, préservation. Ecological balance, équilibre écologique. Environmental stewardship, gestion environnementale. Carbon footprint, empreinte carbone. Sustainable development, développement durable. Biodiversity, biodiversité. Renewable energy, énergie renouvelable. Climate change mitigation, atténuation du changement climatique. And circular economy, économie circulaire. So these are, when we talk about sustainability, these are some of the terms that you will see present in this presentation and when you think about sustainability in general. So some common expressions we find when talking about sustainability. We say sustainability isn't just about the environment, it's also about social and economic factors. So if we talk about social and economic, we are talking about the two sides of our world, really. The social, meaning the people, the community, and economic, our economy, our industry. It's inspiring to see individuals and organizations taking proactive steps towards sustainability. Let's discuss ways to minimize waste and maximize resource efficiency. I believe sustainability is vital for our future. What are your thoughts? So these are terms that you will often hear when we are talking about sustainability. Let's talk about minimizing consumption. The importance of minimizing consumption. Reducing consumption is a critical aspect of sustainable living and environmental stewardship, and here's why it's important. For resource conservation, by reducing consumption, we use fewer natural resources such as water, minerals, and fossil fuels. Waste reduction. Consumption often leads to waste generation. So you can see that there are many words that go with waste. We have waste reduction and we've got waste generation. So when we talk about reduction, we are talking about how we reduce our waste. When we are talking about waste generation, that is talking about how we create that waste. So if ever you use the two terms, that is telling you what it means. So waste reduction, consumption often leads to waste generation, whether it's packaging materials, products, or energy. Energy conservation. Many products require energy to produce, transport, and use. By reducing consumption, we decrease the demand for energy, which can help lower greenhouse gas emissions and combat climate change. We also talk about minimizing consumption for biodiversity preservation. Extracting resources for consumption often leads to habitat destruction and biodiversity loss. So when we are talking about biodiversity, we are talking about the animals and where they live, so their ecosystems. And we also talk about plant life. So it is all working together in the biodiversity. Diversity meaning the difference, diverse. By consuming less, we reduce the pressure on ecosystems and wildlife, helping to preserve biodiversity. Another importance of minimizing consumption is economic efficiency. Overconsumption can lead to economic inefficiencies and inequalities. So by consuming only what is necessary, we can allocate resources more efficiently and ensure fair distribution. It also talks about your quality of life. While consumption and quality of life suggests excessive consumption does not necessarily lead to greater well-being. So when we talk about overconsumption, we are talking about overuse of products, overuse of raw materials, overuse of our natural resources. And these are quite important because when our quality of life is impacted, it has other consequences. It has difficult consequences. So top ways to minimize consumption. So we have ideas to look at. We need to practice mindful consumption. We need to be aware of what you are buying and why. And is there a second-hand option? So when we talk about second-hand, we talk about deuxième main, or we speak about something that has been given a second life. We can also embrace minimalism. So focus on owning fewer things or possessions and simplifying your life. We talk about reduce, reuse, and recycle. Minimize waste by buying less, reusing items, and recycling materials. And we support sustainable brands. So we choose products from companies that prioritize sustainability. So we also have initiatives that are put in place by the government. For example, in France now, it is in the law that we need to do composting. So that is part of reducing, reusing, and recycling, but in a more, let's say, a biodiverse way. So it's more for the biodiversity because compost helps our plants. Prioritizing experiences, relationships, and meaningful pursuits over material possessions can often achieve greater satisfaction and fulfillment. So let's look at reusing. So giving items a second life. Reuse is a fundamental principle in various fields, including engineering, design, and sustainability. It involves using an item, component, or resource again for its original purpose or for a new purpose, instead of discarding it after initial use. In the context of sustainability, reuse is a key aspect of reduce, reuse, and recycle mantra. By reusing items or materials, we can decrease the demand for new resources. We can reduce waste generation and lessen the environmental impact of production and consumption. So let's look at some more vocabulary when we are talking about the idea of reduce, reuse, and recycle. When we talk about reusing, réutilisation, to repurpose something is réaffecter. To repurpose and to reuse are different because when we reuse something, we use it again in the same way. But if we repurpose something, we use it again, but in a different way. So we often see videos of people that take old bowls or dishes or tables to make new items, and it's quite interesting. Then we talk about recycling and upcycling. So upcycling is a beautiful way to say that we are recycling something, but we are elevating it. We are making it better. We salvage items, we refurbish items, we resell, and we have second hand. We remanufacture, we renew items, we talk about sustainability or something being sustainable, and eco-friendly. So reusing items at home. So here we've got a few images that show us how we can reuse certain items in our home. So if you look at the first picture, we have jars. We call them jars in English. And we have reused these items to be a pencil holder or a stationery holder. We also have a button holder for your sewing kit. So these jars can be used in diverse ways, many different forms, to hold different items in our home. In the image below, we can see that it is an old set of drawers that is before and after they have created beautiful shelves. In the middle, we can see they have taken old bottles, particularly Coke bottles or soda bottles, and they have made them planters for beautiful hanging plant holders. We also see how we have reused cans for a beautiful display, And we use the eggshells for our new plants. So it's beautiful how we are reusing items at home. So, have you reused something at home? You can write your example in the chat. So, Dennis, because it's only you, I'm going to let you unmute your microphone if you would like to tell me about something that you've reused at home.
Well, so I think that I don't do it very often. In
Okay.
fact, there are many possibilities indeed to reuse some ancient objects and
Yes,
things, but it's hard to find the good solution
absolutely.
to choose the right way to do it, and but it needs a lot of creativity, and
Yes,
it's important to keep it in mind and to
absolutely.
find some solutions.
Yes, but I imagine that you do composting, for
Yes,
example.
I do.
That
That's
is
right.
something you have
Exactly.
that's it. That's how you reuse. You
Yes, it's a
reuse.
way of
It's
absolutely.
definitely
That's
a
right.
way. So you do composting, which is something
It's
that
a
is
first step.
it's a great step. Thank you for sharing. So let's carry on with the conference. So we are going to look at the last one, which is recycle, which is managing waste responsibly. Recycling is the process of converting waste materials into new materials and objects. It involves collecting, sorting, processing, and remanufacturing materials like paper, glass, plastic, and metal so they can be used again instead of being discarded. The recycling process typically begins with the collection of recyclable materials from homes, businesses, and other sources. These materials are then sorted and cleaned to remove contaminants and separate different types of materials. Once sorted, the materials are processed through various methods, such as shredding, melting, or pulping, to break them down into raw materials or components that can be used to manufacture new products. So, this is the process of recycling. By recycling materials instead of discarding them, we can mitigate environmental impacts, conserve resources, and move towards a more sustainable and circular economy. So, recycling offers several benefits, including conservation of our resources, energy savings, waste reduction, and economic opportunities. However, using less plastic is crucial. So, when we say it's crucial, that means it's of vital importance. Plastic often ends up in oceans and landfills, harming marine life and ecosystems. Additionally, plastic requires fossil fuels, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. As for plastic recycling in France, approximately 25% of plastic waste is recycled in the country. So let's talk about the following questions, Dennis. How are you contributing to environmental sustainability? What are some of the things that you do at home?
So I try to be aware of my using of fossil fuels, for
Yes.
examples,
Mhm.
and also for my electricity
Yes.
consumption.
Yes.
Um, and I try to think to about how I buy some foods
Yes.
in the shops, and to in order to choose the better way to keep them to get them to my house,
Yes.
and to reduce my use of plastics, of course.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And when you think about reduce, reuse, and recycle, in regards to these three processes, what do you do at home? For you, which one stands out the most? Even though they're all important, I'm sure there is one that you do more.
Probably reduce.
Yes.
It is the most that I do.
Yes.
And recycle and reuse need probably to improve my capacity, my availability to find some other ways and some other solutions.
Absolutely, but I think what you are doing is already great because, as well, myself, I think to reuse, you also have to be, as you said, creative. Try to find many different ways to use things. Reducing is something that we think of. And I think the composting can really be considered recycling in a way because we don't just throw away that those food items. We actually are turning it into compost for the garden. So quite interesting. Thank you for
Exactly.
sharing. So here are some final tips to be more sustainable. So let's have a look. So we reduce, we reuse, and we recycle. So that is whether it is in the home, in our daily life, or and with our daily activities. We can also conserve energy. So that means not using all the lights in your home. When you do not need certain appliances, we turn them off. We also talk about conserving water. So a beautiful way to conserve water is to take daily showers instead of using the bath, and also to collect rainwater for the garden. So that is something that is very useful. We also use sustainable transportation, eat locally and seasonally, something that is very, very popular in France. I absolutely love it. Reduce meat consumption if you can. Grow your own food. And our favorite, compost organic waste. We can also choose sustainable products. We can support sustainable brands. We can reduce single-use plastics. We can conserve wildlife habitats. We can educate ourselves and others on the following information, and we can participate in cleanup events. We can also vote for sustainability. So thank you so much, Dennis, for joining me for this conference. I hope that it was useful, and know that you can use all of this vocabulary in your discussions about sustainability. So this will be sent to you via email, and I really hope that you have a good weekend.
Thank you very much, Chanel. It
Thank you,
was
Dennis.
very interesting and very
Yes.
useful.
So I'll see you next week. Have a
Have a
good
good
weekend,
evening.
Dennis.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.